Hey everyone, Sarah here. Tonight I'm talking about fat in the diet and in the body. A lot of people are of the opinion that the way I eat isn't providing me with enough healthy fats. So I just wanted to share what I've learnt about fat. So first of all, some of the fats that our body uses are essential, which means we must get them from food, we must get them from our diet. And other fats are non-essential, which means our body is able to produce them, therefore we don't have to consume them. We definitely do need fats, and I'm not going to argue with that. One of the main functions we need fats for is for our hormonal balance, which is very important to our overall health. So we do need them, but it's what I want to talk about is the amounts and the ratios that we need. So while we need our healthy fats for our hormones, if we have too much fats, it actually has a detrimental effect on our hormones, an adverse effect. So it's really important to get the amount of fat we consume right. Not only that, the ratios of the different fats our body needs to be in perfect balance. And first of all, I'm going to say I'm a strong believer that if you eat the way nature intended for us to eat, eating whole foods, naturally they provide everything in the perfect balance for us. It's when we start separating foods and refining them into oils and taking away the fibre and things like that come with the oils, that's when we can run into imbalances. Okay, so the ideal amount of fat in the diet is roughly between 5 and 9% of the total calories. Now, if you were to eat nothing but fruit, which I don't recommend, but fruit alone will give you roughly 3 to 4% of your total calories from fat. So there is fat in fruit, and the plant fats are better, of course. To bump that up to the 5% to get into the healthy range, all you need to do is add some leafy greens like lettuce or kale. Personally, I prefer lettuce. And that will give you the 5%. This is all roughly, of course. And there's room there if you wanted to add some occasional nuts, seeds, avocado, coconut as well. So the overt fats, the nuts, the seeds, the avocado and coconut meat, I don't recommend eating them every day, but they can certainly be included like on a weekly basis in small amounts, and that will put you in the ideal range. It's a good idea for many reasons to actually cut out overt fats if your body is healing from some sort of disease or something like that. Fats do use up more digestive energy, so if you're wanting to cleanse your body and your body to have energy for healing, then cutting out overt fats for a period of time is perfectly okay, so long as you're getting in the leafy greens, for your omega-3s, that's perfectly fine to do that. So getting on to the ratios, one important ratio to get right, the omega-3 and the omega-6 groups do have essential fatty acids in them, and there's actually no minimum, there's actually sort of no recommended amount for those. Just as important as getting enough is getting the ratios right, if not more important. Back in the day when we were living in the jungle, living off our natural diet, the ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 was 1 to 1. And ironically, that's exactly what the ratio is in our brain, 1 to 1. Nowadays, our current diet that includes grains and refined oils and things like that, majority of people are getting between 10 to 1 and 30 to 1. omega-6 to omega-3. So far too much omega-6 for a healthy ratio. So that's really great for the fish oil supplement industry, which is a huge booming industry. Many people taking omega-3 to try and balance out that imbalance that's there with the excess omega-6 in the diet. However, I don't think that's the answer. That would be like if someone said, oh, smoking takes away your vitamin C, so have vitamin C supplement if you're smoking. The vitamin C might help the overall health, but it's still not going to give you optimal health. You're not going to get optimal health unless you actually stop smoking. It's the same thing if you're having way too much omega-6, which the majority of people are, whether they're vegan or not. Having way too much omega-6 is detrimental to your health. So you can try and help it out a little bit with omega-3 supplements, but for optimal health, if you're having too much of something, the best way is to actually cut down the omega-6 rather than try and make up for it with extra omega-3. So if you cut out the refined oils and the grains and the foods high in omega-6, your need for omega-3 is much less and you have a much better balance. So 1-to-1 obviously is ideal, but anything up to 4-to-1, omega-6 to omega-3 is perfectly healthy. But like I said, most people are having way more than that. So that's one thing to think about. Another fat that our body uses is cholesterol, which is vital for our hormones and testosterone levels and things like that. But cholesterol is non-essential. Our body actually produces the exact right amount that we need. Our body has its own intelligence, so we don't need to get any cholesterol from the diet at all. So as soon as you start adding in foods that have cholesterol, which cholesterol is only contained in animal products, then immediately you're getting more cholesterol than what you need, and we all know that cholesterol clogs arteries and things like that if you have too much of it. So if you're eating animal products, basically you're having too much cholesterol. The other fat that the body uses is saturated fat, but again, it's non-essential. We do not need to get it from the diet. And when saturated fat comes in from food, from an outside source, our body actually can't process it. So it causes huge problems having too much saturated fat in the diet, raising blood pressure and things like that. So linked to heart disease and everything like that. So we want to keep our saturated fat low. Now, there's been a lot of studies done on, first I'll come back, polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats are able to be utilised by the body. Your body can use them. So for ideal health, we need to get our ratio of polyunsaturated fats to saturated fats right. So the experts say the ideal ratio there is 20 to 80. So that's 20% saturated fat to 80 polyunsaturated fat. And if you look at all plant foods, not just the ones I talk about, the fruit and the vegetables, but the nuts and the seeds, the avocados, most plant foods have that ratio of saturated fat to polyunsaturated fat, the 20 to 80. Now, when you look at animal products, foods derived from an animal, it's the exact opposite way around. They have an 80 to 20 saturated fat to polyunsaturated fat. So it's the complete reverse. So if you're including any animal-derived foods in your diet, meat, dairy or eggs, automatically you have an unhealthy ratio of saturated fat to polyunsaturated fat. The other thing I think is really bad to put in your body is just putting in refined oil. It's basically empty calories, because for the body to process it properly, it needs to come with the fibre and everything that's in the plant. And also the fibre in the plant helps keep the oils from going rancid. So when an oil is removed from the plant to have separately, it's not fresh, basically. And fresh is always best for nutrition. So I'll get on to other things that aren't good about having too much fat. It's very, very calorie dense for one. So there's actually more than double the amount of calories in a gram of fat compared to either protein or carbohydrates. So it takes a lot less of it to get calories. But you're not going to get the fullness, you're not going to have that volume that fills your belly. So it's very easy to overeat on fats, very easy to put on weight from them. And not just for that reason. The body uses macronutrients in a certain order. At first we'll use mainly carbs, and then when your carbs start running low, it will switch to using protein. And then when the protein's running low, then last of all it goes to the fat. So unless you're running on empty, you're not going to be burning the fat that you're eating. So if you're all that fat loss, you want to keep your fat intake low. Other problems that fat causes is it actually lines the walls of the blood vessels, and this can raise blood sugar levels because normally if someone's on a low-fat fruitarian diet, they have no issues with blood sugar at all because the sugar comes into the system, moves into the bloodstream, and then out of the bloodstream into the cells to be used as energy very efficiently. But when the blood vessels are lined with fat, basically the sugar gets trapped. So the sugar can't leave the bloodstream and then therefore can't get into the cells to be used as energy. So everyone blames sugar for high blood sugar levels and for things like candida and diabetes and things like that. But it's not the sugar, it's the fact that the sugar is having trouble leaving the blood system, the bloodstream. I've got some notes on this. I'm just going to read to get my wording right on this. Where is it? It thickens the blood. Red blood cells clump together. This is fat I'm talking about, excess fat in the body. So the red blood cells clump together. They can't deliver oxygen to the cells and blocks the action of insulin in the body. With fat, sort of more fat in the diet means you're getting less oxygen to your cells. More notes on this. It reduces your ability to update, transport and deliver oxygen to our cells. And it also reduces the number of viable red blood cells. So that is going to affect athletic performance. The other thing with getting too much fat in the diet is when your fat percentage increases, automatically your carbohydrate percentage decreases. And your carbohydrates are your energy, so you're going to lose athletic performance there as well if you're having too much fat in the diet. And we all know that it can lead to heart disease and things like that. Getting back to the candida, it's very easy to explain why it's the fat and not the fruit that causes it. Most even health experts blame the fruit and say you can't have fruit if you've got candida, but fruit does not cause candida. The cause of candida is when you've got fat fat blocking your system and you eat the fruit digests much faster. But if the system is clogged up with fat, the fruit can't then move through once digested, so it starts to ferment. But if your system isn't clogged up with fat, then the fruit just moves straight through you with no problems at all. So by having less fat in the diet, you're reducing your risk of candida as well as diabetes. So I hope all that makes sense. Let's see if there was anything else I wanted to talk about. Yes, so when I talk about percentages, I'm talking about percentages of calories. I'll give an example of how this differs. Most people, when they talk about percentages, they're talking about percentage of the volume of food rather than the percentage of that food percentage of the nutrients coming from calories. So a good example of this is reduced fat milk, which it will show you on the carton is around 2% fat, but a lot of the milk is made up of water. So if you take out the water, because there's no calories in water, the actual percentage of fat from calories is 35%, and this is reduced fat milk. So 35% of the energy from the milk is coming from fat. And then if you look at the full cream milk, 4% of the volume is 4% of the volume is fat, but the calories, percentage of calories is 50%. 50% of milk's calories are from fat. So that can be very deceiving, but yeah, milk is a very high fat food because we have to drink the water anyway. So when you're looking at the food component of it, 50% fat. So I hope all that makes sense. I encourage you to get onto Cronometer.com. I'll put the link in the description. And I just challenge you to put in, for one day, just put in everything that you've eaten in the day, and it comes up with a little pie chart of how much of your calories are coming from each of the macronutrients, and just check out how much fat you're having so that you know. I think most people would be really surprised with the percentage of fat in their diet. So yeah, do that. And if you've got any comments or questions, please post them in the comments below. It's good to have a discussion. I've been having a lot of debates with people about this lately. And if you found this helpful, please share the video. We need to educate each other so that we can all become healthier. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll be back again soon. Thank you.